Here are the writing tips you need to learn how to write Thieves the right way and create a story that will take your reader's breath away. Join me on the journey toward world building my own story, as well as providing you, yes you, with all the writing tips you need to write good characters and make your story stand out from all the rest. What is up, you muffin munching muggles? Welcome to Fiction and Reality, where we help you, yes you, become the most devilishly gifted human that you know you are and that you knew you always could be. Let's jump right into it and define just how your thief makes your story precious. So what is a thief? Someone who pockets another man's pickles without their permission. A thief is someone who, of course, steals or takes something that they have no bearing or ownership over. But I'd argue, for the sake of developing your characters, that you do not simply stop at this marker of thievery, as there is always an underlying reason as to why someone big ups the kahunas to take another man's treasure. We may even lapse backward through threads of time and find that their environment shaping their greedy paws, or perhaps the laws of a tyrannical king sowed a fissure between the impoverished and elite, and the days of being drenched in muck, mud, and filth were repressed by the desire to rise the socioeconomic totem pole by any means necessary. And as the black scarves say in my story, no matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice. Understanding that there are doubloons lying below the tattered surface of what makes a thief is critical in aiding you in formulating a framework for exactly how your thief will present and displace the bare label of thief with something that evokes emotion on a humanistic level and weaves in knot strings of emotion between your character and the reader. Alright, so what are some reasons why a thief might steal? Like taking candy from a baby. Let's start with some good old-fashioned trauma.
Break my heart! I don't want to find someone else! I want to be your one and only love!
The original character in my novel, who's also a thief, has undergone some disturbing and shocking events of her own, and one of those events was experiencing the loss of someone who sheltered her as a child when the rest of society treated her as a flea, always buzzing about the markets, plucking fruits from the stands when no one was looking, or ripping out pieces of raw meat when the butcher retreated to sharpen his blade. The kind saint who nurtured her was brutally murdered, leaving only flickers of her past dimly fading in the wind through the pages of the journals she adamantly tucked out of sight from the girl, but with her dying breath made her promise to seek and find whatever lied within the pages, and steal the items. Here you'll find how trauma can breathe itself into a crusade of thievery and can ignite the element of mystery within your story. The philosophy of a thief is of the utmost importance, as it decrees who they will steal from and projects the aftermath of their thievery in either the arcing bolts of chaos, which bears the capacity to breed contempt and ignite wars, or the reserve to restore order, depending on exactly what is being stolen. Aside from having your character's mother being whacked and switched up by the YNs of my universe, you could also speak to greed and desire. Don't get greedy now.
Must have the precious.
Listen, you'll need to be very, very careful here. Someone with a thief's sleight of hand and knack for pocketing coins would, of course, when left destitute, opportunistically swipe any and everything within their path. Something, however, should be underlying the greed, perhaps maybe a backstory where they're forced to slurp up from sewage pipes and lap up slop of pigs while the elite's bellies grow full off of their labor, and choose either between that, stealing, or starving. Maybe they were simply voiding the mechanisms of the society in which they lived, as they viewed the socioeconomic totem pole as too drastic to overcome, and thus took the quickest route to the apices of their view of luxury. Now, as all of you know, greed can be a dangerous thing, and if you're not careful, it can completely swallow and engulf the entire compass of your thief. It's just my personal and insignificant opinion that the bare-bone label of greed should not define your character, but rather be an asset, or rather a component of maybe their personality, a trait, a characteristic. For example, at times the thief within my story becomes blinded by her angst to prosecute her dying mother's will, and compulsively swipes any and everything she believes will help graft the puzzle pieces of the impossible riddle left scattered in shambles. Greed, it operated best as a trait or characteristic, but not the entire prefecture of my thief. The encounter of a sprightly star with sparkling nuggets of hope invokes her greed for knowledge, not the other way around. While the act of theft might initially seem to stem from pure greed, it's often the outward expression of deep-seated survival instincts and long-held grievances. The deprivation and harshness of a past marked by exploitation and neglect feel not only the urge to seize what others hoard, but also a desperate bid for reclaiming dignity and understanding. Ultimately, characters like Nyx, my original character, reminds us that Beneath the veneer of opportunism lies a complex interplay of trauma, defiance, and insatiable hunger for knowledge, a narrative that transcends the simple label of greed. Pushing forward, you'll find that some characters might justify their thievery as a need to survive, a need.
I don't need it. I don't need it.
However, does the simple fact of needing justify the cause? Many people think they need things. Iced out APs, meme coins, a good credit score. Oh, you may need that last thing. But also, a like on the video. If you're enjoying the video right now, leave a like and show some love. There's honestly only a couple of scenarios where I could see this happening, and those would be stealing to survive or stealing to protect. These are the most primordial instincts that all beasts of the animal kingdom hold sacred and would tussle through hell and high water to protect. Two needs that, in my opinion, don't need to be justified. Your character may be leering on the edge of life and death if they must turn to theft to survive. Maybe a bone-dry famine or a food source that has since turned toxic or scarce within the underbelly of society. The bowels of the society is infested with scavenging beasts, then the battle becomes the survival of the fittest. If you can steal, then you can survive, but if you can't, then you'll die. This sums up Footnote's plotting the path of my thief's journey, since as she was shunted into snatching pears from food vendors or left eating out of the trash as she foraged homeless due to a sequence of events that left her donning a shagged, dirt-smothered dress and worn pair of shoes. And so, faced with the choice of life and death, well, for most, the answer becomes quite obvious. Survival isn't a matter of choice, it's a necessity born from the relentless pressure of a cruel world. When the only food is tainted and the only shelter is found in the shadows, thievery becomes a lifeline, a deliberate act of defiance against a society that has long forsaken the desperate. Every stolen coin, every snatched pear is a testament to the raw will to live, a refusal to succumb to the inevitability of death. Rather than starvation or natural disasters being the primary blight, there may be the imminent threat of direct physical harm that could progress to being life-threatening, for which, in this scenario, a person would be inclined to take up arms and defend themselves and those they love to the death. If stealing a spiked club or longsword means for once standing against the oppressive forces that encroach on your plane of solace, that traumatize and torment you day in and day out, then thievery for your character would be but a small, insignificant price to pay. Of course, thieves may be prone to gamble as they have the safeguard of them being able to cleave their deficit back from some other poor soul. What I'm saying is that their lives may be forfeit, their face posted on a bounty on the grounds of their debt, and perhaps they grow desperate when their passive thievery attempts fail, so they veer toward drawing the knife from its sheath and gearing their actions towards murderous intent. You could also ask the question of what exactly it is that they are protecting: their own life, their loved ones, that of gilded doubloons, their title of the strongest. All of these are reasons that may thread a character towards thievery. Whether it's seizing a spike club or a longsword, the act of theft transforms to a means of defense, a way to arm oneself against the relentless tide of oppression and violence. Choosing to steal, your character isn't surrendering to greed. She is ascertaining her right to exist, to safeguard those few sparks of hope that remain. Now that we've undertaken reasons as to why a thief might steal, I want to highlight the social divide by illustrating the parties that your thief may take from and how it contours their character. Hey, is your thief in their Robin Hood bag? Or are they just in their hoodlum bag? By identifying who exactly your thief is going to steal from, you can explore social imbalances. Stealing from the wealthy might imply a critique of a systemic inequality, while targeting the vulnerable could paint a picture of desperation. This is just to get you thinking about exactly what side of society your thief is on. Ask yourself, who exactly are they stealing from and why? An affinity for a subsection of society may illustrate exactly what spectrum of morals they adhere to and grant insight to what exactly they stand for and stand against. If you have a thief stealing from a band of disabled children or a Make-A-Wish kid, well, that's a problem. I'd say that's a problem. And it speaks to the lengths they will go to accrue whatever fledgling desire or motives are driving them forth on their path of pilfering. Now they may raise their valiant bows against the elites, and whether or not this is seen in a virtuous light is entirely dependent on the content of your story's narrative. The ire of your thieves' thievery will aid in unpacking whether or not rebellion, survival, are the inner workings of their motives, as well as highlight the contrast between social classes within your story, thus progressing and pushing your plot forward like no other character could. And on the grounds of pushing your plot forward, I need to take a moment to focus in on how the thieves themselves can contour your novel into the unique specimen that will steal your readers' hearts. Give your thief a shiny thing to chase. Just one of many ways that the thief can take your reader's breath away is through journey and chasing a gilded nugget, whether out of thrill, unrelenting desire, or an element of greed. More than any other device, the thief attenuates the unknown, as their actions have the potential to weave a convoluted web of questions strung in mystery. Just as I do with the thief in my story, you can have their journey revolve to some degree about the elements of the unknown, having them enter abandoned crypts or caves, or scaling prophecy, all for the hopes of looting or uncovering something that will be bountiful to them, and not exclusively in the materialistic way. There is an enigmatic nature or a thrill connected to the very act of stealing, and it may be that the exhilarating rush may shed off on your readers if you utilize it in its most streamlined and efficient manner. Exactly what are they stealing? Why are they stealing it? What does it do for your story? Each stepwise question complements and informs the other, though with clouds of ambiguity pluming with tiny tufts of truth, just enough truth to get you to question and begging to find out what exactly is next. The allure of a thief lies not just in the act of stealing, but in the mysterious journey they undertake in pursuit of something far greater than mere wealth. So we should uncover exactly what lies within the heart of a thief. Your character may break the postulates scabbled in by the society at large, and thus be sought out as a deviant by governing forces. And while there is arguably a conflict with morality dependent on whether their morals and virtues lie, it's hard to argue that thievery does not grant one some degree of boundless freedom and independence, and that your character may grapple between choosing between the righteousness of their own consciousness and their free will. And while freedom is a merit that coincides with their pilfering actions, they may be in a state of restricted will with only the ability to choose between life and death, which veers towards the bout of survival versus morality. As I stated, there are consequences to a thief's actions, and they can result in a physical stricture of freedom or long-standing corrosive psychological torment. Do the hunger pangs twist up their insides, sear like acid through their gumming bowels? Does the very thought of dying give them justification for breaking the code of morality and ethics set by society at large? This is the question your character must wrestle with when deciding whether or not stealing that bowl of rice grains justifies others losing out on their own rations, potentially them starving and dying in the place of your thief. It is at its very core a battle between the primordial beast within and attenuated virtues. As a thief is widely held as a criminal across a vast number of civilizations, they may operate in isolation, especially if it prevents them from partitioning any of the goodies or gleaming gems they pluck away and tuck into their own bags. However, while operating alone can sharpen their abilities and feed the myth of the lone wolf, the isolation inherent in a life of crime can leave a thief yearning for genuine connection, stirring an inner struggle between self-reliance and the need to belong. Remember, a thief shouldn't be crafted to steal a pot of gold or a bowl of Lucky Charms without any underlying motive, ambition, and connection to their past, present, or future. The takeaway: if you want your thief to steal the hearts of your readers, then you must steal something precious from them first. If you took something from this video, I want you to take a moment to crack that subscribe button below and like the video. Like the video. It pushes these videos out so that others can take key tokens that you've gained. So do your fellow comrades a favor. Also, I wanted to thank you all for 300 subscribers. Isn't that great? 300 subscribers. I want to have a challenge for which I will later define the rules that encompasses viewers, maybe 20 to 25, writing a 4 to 5 page short story based on the prompt of my choosing, for which there will be a $100 prize for the winner. My goal is to get the watchers more interactive with each other and really make this community come to life and put some faces to the names. Viewers will be able to vote for their favorite story within each bracket, thus allowing the participant to progress to the next stage. I'm still deciding on the number of entries I'll take, as it's not possible for me to read 200 short stories, so I'll most likely funnel it down. I will come out with the prompt and clearly define the rules at a later date and upload a video, but for now, stay tuned. I will leave a link to my socials in the description below. If you want more info on how to improve your story, feel free to check out some of my other videos by clicking right here. Writers, world builders, and storytellers aiming to perfect writing techniques and enhance their storytelling and world building are all welcome. And with that, remember, if ever you're lost in a forestry of words, strip your mind from fantasy and look to the window of the world, and there your mind will run free.